Hello and welcome back to our continuing adventures on the Let's Defend platform. Today we are taking a look underneath the Security Analyst Path of SOC239 remote code execution detected in Splunk Enterprise. Event ID is 201, type is unauthorized access, and this occurred November 21st, 2023, 12:24 p.m. So let's see, what do we have? Got a source IP address of 180.168.240, destination IP of 172.16.20.13, supposedly to Splunk Enterprise. There was a post where 219.80.50 over port 8000. Upload indexing looks like a shell.xsl. Trigger file path, ops, Splunk, var, run, Splunk, dispatch. Long series of numbers, .3. Okay, so detected a malicious XSLT upload in Splunk Enterprise with potential to trigger remote execution. So it looks like in November of 2023, this was... So CVE 2023-46214. So you upload something and it allows it to kick off and do what's encoded, like reverse TCP. Okay, so that's not very good. So somehow we uploaded, or we're using Splunk now, and somehow we've got we've uploaded a XSLT file into it. So we take a look at the IP address, the one starting in 180. It's a ChinaNet, marked as phishing suspicious and malicious. If we take a look at our normal aspects, the IP address, Talos confirms it is, pardon me, ChinaNet, poor sender reputation, untrusted. Again with the expired. OTX has got it down for brute force. Two years ago now. SSH and the like. Okay. Pardon me. Let's see. Old reports, 11 months ago. It looks like a lot of brute force. So yeah, we can consider that malicious. Now, I know that there's a download link in the case. I was not able to actually go through and get that done. So let's see. One of these. Yeah. So the S3 for shell.zip, which would be the download directory for, basically put it inside a VT underneath a non-paid for account. So obviously, if I'd used the one I'm provided at my place of employ, I could go through and have access to everything because they pay for that. But just sticking with here and now. So put the URL inside of VT, ran it through, we get the hash, nothing gets picked up. Not a bad thing. Go and do a search. That's for the other one. I do believe that the shell is actually, yeah, it's in any.run. And if you have an account, even the free one, you can download the sample. So that's the direction that I've taken. So inside the shell.zip is a shell.sh and a shell.xsl, none of which trigger off on any of the engines. So it's like, okay, so what were these things? What was actually kicking off? So we can see it partially in the any.run. Where it's kicking off. Oops, too far. Here we go, hopefully. So it's calling the shell.sh, and then effectively inside that it's sh space -i, and then it's basically, what it's creating is a TCP reverse shell out to the 180, 101, 88, 240, which, if memory serves me right, yeah, so it's basically going right back out. And because all it is just the, formulated commands to sit there and do this reverse TCP tunnel or shell, I would kind of think that that should be something to be alerting on, but apparently not. But it is what it is. So that's effectively what we've got going on there. If then we take into log management and we drop the 80, 101, 88, 240, and that's, I'm gonna go reverse order, if you please. No, we can't even do that, huh? Okay, fine. So this kicked off when? This kicked off at 12:24. So we see here at 12:23, the ChinaNet to our 172.16.20.13. So that looks like that's kicking off the shell.xsl. And then just before Python. Although the interesting aspect here is that I do not see this flop. I mean, you would think that give me 1 second. I've got both of these pulled. So can I pull that in quick so you can see it? Yes, yes I can. Transition that in. Okay, so here is shell.xsl. You see that it calls shell.sh, and then it does reach out to the 180 ChinaNet IP over port 1923. If we take a look at shell.sh, it is effectively just the same thing. Again, over 1923. But then the interesting thing here is that we see that, though now apparently to an 18, 219, 80, 54. With the shell.sh being the portion. Now, you would think that remote shell, realistically, we should be seeing our, wait, the 18 is the same portion that's mentioned inside of here. So what is that? Actually just like now I'm wondering, is that like maybe like AWS or Azure or something along those lines? So, we're running this inside of a cloud environment as opposed to just entirely on-prem. Oh, I gotta get the notepad out of the way. Oops. All right, so here's the 18.219.50 or 80.54. It is an Amazon IP address. So, yeah, likely part of the cloud there, which I guess would make some sense as to why we see what we see. Although realistically, I would have thought this would have been reversed. Should our destination address, or no, our source and destination should be swapped. Because at that particular point, if we uploaded this stuff to create a reverse shell back to the ChinaNet IP, then we should be seeing the Splunk infrastructure IP as the source address. So it should be, realistically, these logs should be inverted. Source should be 18.219.80.54, and the destination should be the 180.101.88.240, as denoted in the various shell scripts. But all up to that point, all 1923. So yeah, they had a tunnel. So that looks like that was all successful. And the Splunk infrastructure needs to be. Apparently, it must not be managed by Splunk in that particular case. So hopefully, we've got an engineer on hand. And then we are looking for it being November. Were there any emails? September, October, November. Right? November 2023? Yes. Nothing in there in regards to anything else. So, no. And the threat intel on the actual platform itself has nothing for the ChinaNet IP, which, okay, that's fine. And if we take a look at the endpoint, yeah, I was looking at a different case to sit there and spin up, but that will probably be the next one after this. I think it ended up being a medium. Okay, Splunk Enterprise, we get all that good stuff. Terminal history, so it looks like all the normal stuff starting up. And we see after everything kicks off, okay, so getting shell, ID, who am I, groups, user add, analyst, password analyst. So pretty good indicator that something bad has occurred. Browser history, is there anything here that's worth anything? Yeah, not really. At least nothing during that time frame. Network actions should be a, what, 12 something was the whole point? But we don't see 180 in here. Which I suppose that makes sense. So we did, it's either a search head or something else like that. We utilize that to sit there and put that shell.zip through. And that's why we see the activity from the other host, the Amazon IP. Okay, so I don't think there's going to be much of anything in here that's actually going to tell us anything. So process, user, admin, Splunk D, start Splunk, Splunk status, Splunk web start, cat etc os-release, vim version, sudo version, ls color auto, user, libexec, tracker store. My script. Okay, here we go. 1224. Who am I? From bash. Groups. So the same thing that we observed before. So they're adding a user. They're apparently deciding to go sue. Oh, hooray. That effectively means that we can just effectively consider the entire infrastructure of Splunk compromised. This is why it's important to patch all your stuff. All right, let's take ownership. I think we've dallied enough through all this stuff, and hopefully you'll be able to recreate it the same way. As a just general reminder, if you're going to follow the same aspect, any.run, you're looking for the MD5. I will include the links to the virus total results for these various files, so you'll be able to pull it from there, the MD5. So let's go through. I don't agree with how some of the stuff is laid out. I think that was just an oversight, but understand why it was triggered. Because the trigger was the /////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////// this was laid out, but was dumped in, and it seems to match like what the vulnerability that was talked about. So yeah, I think we have an understanding. Collect the data. So this was basically just kicked off by ChinaNet actually accessing the infrastructure and then being to push it. So we didn't even have it locked down properly. Oof. Yeah, malicious. Command injection was not planned. This was internet to company network. It does appear that it was successful. Here comes the fun part. Splunk needs to be burnt down to the ground. Oh man. Oh man. All right, so we got that. Now we need all of our artifacts, which, hooray. So, really? Malicious, command injection, not planned, internet to company. Was it successful? We've done the containment, and hopefully I won't screw this up. So here's our attacker IP. Shell.zip. Oops. Shell.sh and shell.xsl. Okay, so we go back here. That's a different one. Here's our zip file. I need actually this one. Details MD5 of the zip. Now we need to find the SH, get into details. There's the SH. And then if we go to the last one, there's our XSL file. So what else do we have? The attacker and everything should go back to. I guess we could include the so let's see, type MD5, 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 IP address. We do need to do an escalation. So, uploaded shell. Splunk Enterprise to exploit. What was the CVE number from all this stuff here? CVE 2023 46214. This appears successful. It's the Amazon IP. '88 240 via port 1923 as specified in the shell files. Confirm playbook. And we're going to go true positive. We're just going to dump our note back in there. Two-day streak, and apparently I did not get something right. All right, so let's see. extensible style sheet language. Transformations. XSLT is an XML-based language used in conjunction with specialized processing software for the transformation of XML documents. So they did the same thing, saw the same aspects. Containment of the host, stuff was allowed, successful, true, positive. So that's great, but the problem is, where's the aspect of, whatever. Do they actually have the report accessible, or is this is just going to be the same thing before, where it's just not going to work? Nope, not going to load. Okay, so we're not going to know what the official aspect would have been in regards to that, because I don't see the little figure out where you went wrong. But we got everything else. But so there we go. Rather interesting portion, especially considering the fact that I think this is one of the first ones that I've come across that have not actually called out the particular CVE that the system would be vulnerable to, which it is nice to see these tossed in every so often. You have to sit there and try to piece together, okay, is this actually something that would be a CVE, as opposed to just somebody just fuzzing a bunch of crap or just throwing stuff at a system to see what causes it to tip over. But thankfully that's easy enough to do with I think I just searched Splunk and XSLT exploit, and it basically started giving off those results. So I'll get a couple of those put in there. Hopefully at this particular point, it's almost 2 years ago, almost. So I would kind of hope that by this particular point, your stuff would have been patched. Maybe, hopefully. If not, start a conversation with your SIEM engineers and then pray to God that he haven't observed any of this. Maybe it'd be a good idea to go through and re-audit who has access to your Splunk in terms of, are you guys doing any geo-blocking, geo-IP blocking? You got stuff locked down to just a very small allow list. You know, your organization's primary IP range. So, specifically versions of Splunk Enterprise prior to 907 and 912 are at risk. Okay, I'll grab the stuff, put it in there. Again, had to look up what the historical item was in VirusTotal to get the, maybe you don't have a problem pulled down the zip file using the download that's presented, but didn't work for me. So again, VirusTotal for the Amazon S3 URL, and then take the hash that's prevented inside of VT for that particular aspect, and then take that through, find the MD5, and then you should be able to find multiple examples in any.run. So you can pull the stuff down and go from there. But so there we go. That's SOC239, remote code execution detected in Splunk Enterprise, EventID 201, type unauthorized access, for November 21st, 2023, 12:24 p.m. With all that being said, I will see everybody in the next video.